Hello guys, welcome back to yet another video. Welcome back to F1 with Mike. This is your review of the Australian Grand Prix. I'm going to quickly rush through this, so without further ado, let's get into FP1. So, what happened in free practice 1? I mean, new regulations, new cars, everything new. Teams still trying to understand the package they have, the engines they've built. And yes, there will be a lot of mechanical and hydraulic issues. There were so many interruptions during this session. Virtual safety cars, red flags, whatever, just to make sure cars were taken off track. And I think it's expected at this stage because reliability is not like I think at a certain point we'll get to a very high level of reliability between the cars, but for now, nothing. In this session, Hadjar looked pretty quick. He looked on pace I wanted to say Hazard, no, with Verstappen. Hadjar looked quick and on pace with Verstappen. The Ferrari and the Red Bull came out in this session looking very good. Mercedes was nowhere near. Audi was one team that I was very surprised to see. They actually have a very good package. If you watched my constructors championship video, I didn't give them too much. I didn't like maybe give them so much credit, but honestly, their car looks good, and let's see what that will bring for them in this season. That being said, they actually built a very important car. Mercedes in this session, they didn't show their hands. I think they were just like, you could say, still sandbagging. They didn't want to show that okay, they were very good and all of that. So very low key appearance for Mercedes in FP1. Arvid Lindblad, that boy is good. He is one for the future. I'm not even gonna lie. FP1, he did great. I think he finished FP1 in P5. He's the only rookie on the grid this year, so no other rookie. But as a rookie coming in, P5 in your first practice session, good, good. Audi, as I mentioned earlier, looking good. And Leclerc topped the time. I think he did a 122.6 thereabout. No, 120.26. Yeah, in the first practice session. But the top three were, I think, Leclerc, Hamilton, Verstappen. So that was it for FP1. FP2 was more of the same, to be honest. I think it started with a little jeopardy though at the beginning because Lindblad coming out of the pits, I think, ran over the wing of George Russell. George Russell had to get a new wing, front wing for that. Max Verstappen didn't partake so much in this session. He had an engine issue. He got into the pit lane, and for some reason, his car just went off. He couldn't just get out of the pit lane. So Red Bull took him back into the garage, and he was there for more than half of the session and came out. I think he just was able to do a few laps. So not a very good session for Red Bull in terms of data gathering and all of that. Also, that was the first time Alonso was able to put his car on track. Alonso, I mean, if you know what's going on with Aston Martin and Honda, that deserves a video on its own. Alonso, Honda, Aston Martin, they are really going through it at the moment because, man, I don't know. I don't know what to say because if you're going to discuss this, as I mentioned, you need an entire video on itself because there was so much going on in the news like, oh, Honda had actually disbanded its engine team when they said they were leaving F1 initially. But when they made the decision to come back, they didn't bring those people back. And most of those people had actually moved to Red Bull. That is why you see maybe Red Bull have like a better engine, even though like it's a new engine, it's Red Bull powertrains. First time they're having an engine and they're looking solid. They're still fighting with the big boys. They are where they belong. Normally when something like this happens, it doesn't translate to victory directly. It takes time, So Aston Martin, yeah, they're going through a lot. So, but in this session, Mercedes came out swinging. The fact that they started topping the times now, yeah, I think this session FP2 was topped by Russell, Piastri, Antonelli. I think that was the order. I'm not very sure because at this point it's leaving my head. Yeah, but that being said, it was a good session overall for Mercedes. Still, of course, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of cars were still having reliability issues. I think Perez had a sensor issue. He came out. I think they took his car back to the garage, tried to work on it. Came out I think 5 minutes to the end of the session, and the car still stopped. So it's just a big a big issue with reliability. P3 began with a horrific crash for Antonelli. That crash was so much like the way the car was destroyed. I am very surprised the engineers built that car for free practice, for qualifying. We'll get to that very soon. But I think that was the major thing that happened in FP3. Well, the Williams power unit issues as well. So this is the thing. For Williams, they're using a Mercedes engine. Mercedes are not having any issues, but their customers are having issues. Like McLaren had an issue in FP1. Lando barely had any time in the car in FP1. Uh, Williams cannot stop having issues when it comes to that Mercedes engine. So I don't know what the problem is. Is it the electrical side or the engine side? I guess we'll find out very soon as the season goes. But yeah, this session again, Russell with the fastest time. No surprise here. Mercedes they took the sand out of the back because the car was flying at this time. So yeah, that was it for the free practice session. I hope I went through it very quickly. Now into qualifying in Q1, the exit major surprise. Max Verstappen was out in Q1. No one had that one on their bingo card. Yeah, but that happened. So Max had like for some reason on his first push lap, going into the corner, he matched on the brake and his car just locked up. The back tires locked up and he was off into the wall, and that was the session for Max Verstappen. So Max Verstappen started the Grand Prix in 20th position because of that off that he had. Behind him was Sainz and Stroll. They did not take part in the session. So the issues Sainz had in FP3 was not be able. Williams couldn't resolve the issue, so he didn't take part in qualifying. Stroll as well. You know the issues with Aston Martin, Honda I mentioned earlier. It's just a mess for them right now. So he didn't partake as well. In front of Verstappen, you had Bottas, Perez, and Alonso. Alonso was 17th, Perez 18th, Bottas 19th, Verstappen 20th, then Sainz 21, Stroll 22nd. So that was it for Q1. In Q2, the exits were Hulkenberg, Bierman, Ocon, Gasly, Albon, and Colapinto. Well, the Audis look sharp. They did look sharp, but a little beating Hulk into Q3. I mean, that's Colapinto. Why am I mentioning Colapinto? The Audis look sharp, and Gabriel Bortoleto doing an amazing job again today. Honestly, that kid is just good. He's just so good. There's nothing you could have thrown against him, and at least for that car, he did well. Beating normally in Formula One, the ultimate test of performance is your teammate, and if you're beating your teammate consistently, especially when it comes to qualifying and race head to head, you're doing enough job to keep your seat. So that's what happened there, and Bortoleto made it to Q3. Hulk did not, but Hulk is also a very good qualifier. Normally, I think in the 2023 season, we used to call him Mr. Saturday, but now maybe he needs to get his mojo back. Bearman and Ocon following Hulkenberg in, I think, from 11th, 12th, 13th. So 12th and 13th, Bearman, Ocon, the Haas. Then Gasly in 14th. In 15th was Alex Albon, and 16th, Franco Colapinto. I'm very surprised by the performance of the Alpine, to be honest. I expected much more from them, given what we saw in preseason testing, you know. But yeah, that being said, that was what happened in Q2. And in Q3, well. I don't think I need to speak so much on this one because we know who was on pole. Of course, the Mercedes was a front row lockup. Russell P1, Antonelli P2, Hadjar P3, Leclerc P4, Piastri P5, Norris P6, Hamilton P7, Liam Lawson P8. Now, I think Lawson, this was the only time in the entire session that he was ahead of Lindblad. And what a time to pull that out. But doing work, honestly, because if a rookie is out qualifying you in his first race, you know you have a problem, you know? So Lawson was able to pull the lap. I think he was the last person to cross the line at the end of Q3. Yeah, so... And it was with that last run he was able to get Lindblad. So Lindblad was P9 and Bortoleto despite making it to Q3, was not able to put on a lap time because at the end of Q2, when he was going back into the pits, his car had an issue and they could not fix it in time for Q3. Now, to the race. The start of the race was pretty interesting, to be honest. But before I even get to the race, on the way to the grid, when the drivers were taking their cars from the pit lane to the grid, Oscar Piastri crashed. So Oscar Piastri was not able to partake in the Australian Grand Prix. Unfortunate for the home hero, for the home fans that came to support their home hero. Of course, you know Oscar Piastri is Australian, so he wasn't able to partake. I guess the course continues. Everyone has been saying there's a course. There's an Australian course for Australian drivers at the Australian Grand Prix, and it's like it continues. No podium for an Australian in a long time in Australia. So it's a curse that needs to be broken. Maybe Oscar will do it next year because this year it's gone. But overall, the start of the race was actually great. Ferrari fans, I mean, I think everything Ferrari was doing with their engines, that turbo that they had, I mean, it gives them an advantage off the line. And Leclerc was able to jump from P4 to P1. That the start of that race, I think it's one of the best things so far about these regulations. I guess hopefully it will continue. But Leclerc had an amazing start. Hamilton had an amazing start. Arvid Lindblad had an amazing start. Arvid Lindblad went from P9. At a certain point, he was up to P3. He overtook Leclerc. He overtook Hadjar. He overtook Hamilton. He was up to P3 at a particular point, but then also the performance of the car kicks in when the going gets going, and then yeah, he dropped back. But at the start, Leclerc, great start, launched and overtook Kimi Antonelli in front of him, got ahead of Russell, and he stayed in front. Now there was a change of lead so many times between Leclerc and George Russell. I think Leclerc, honestly, I didn't expect the Ferraris to fight that hard, like to be able to keep up with the Mercedes. But I guess maybe we are overestimating how good the Mercedes is because this race could have easily been won by Ferrari. But this is where strategy comes in. As I mentioned in my Constructors Championship video, Ferrari might not win. A Ferrari driver might not win the Drivers' Championship, but they can win the Constructors' Championship. The reason I said they will not win, one of their drivers will not win the Drivers' Championship is because of Ferrari's strategy. They always find a way to mess up things for their drivers. And this is exactly what happened again in this race. You have a virtual safety car, the first virtual safety car of the race. Pit and change the tire, remove one pit stop. At least everyone knew they were gonna do a one stop. I mean, that was it. The race strategy was either a one stop or a two stop. If you do a one stop, of course, you're going long. You have the pace to match the Mercedes in a way, defending, of course, with the energy and all of that. The tires were not going off really, I think, except when you have gone so far in the race. Then the tires start falling off. But in this situation, it was the first virtual safety car of the race. And Ferrari did not take advantage. Mercedes double stacked, brought in Russell and Antonelli, and Ferrari left both drivers outside. Even Hamilton had to come on the radio and was like, you should have pitted one of us at least, because have that advantage of covering Mercedes. You are in front because at the time of the virtual safety car, it was Leclerc in front, Russell second, Hamilton third, and Hamilton was catching Russell. You know, as much as Russell was trying to overtake Leclerc, he had to be careful of Hamilton that was right behind him. So, but yeah, the strategic oversight from Ferrari, they messed this one up. I think at least they would have had the chance to secure P2 today, maybe with Leclerc, because Leclerc had it. He was fighting so hard with Russell today, and yeah, it's just unfortunate the things Ferrari do. But in other parts of the race, Verstappen had an amazing drive, moving from P20 up until P6. I mean, that's expected, to be honest. Hadjar had a mechanical failure, bringing out the first virtual safety car, which, of course, the Mercedes pitted under, but Ferrari'd. So, Piastri not being in the race, so that was, I think, the best Max Verstappen could do. Although I think Red Bull kind of messed up the strategy with him as well, because I'm like, he started on the hard tires. He only did 19 laps or so on the hard tires. Then he pitted for mediums, which he now did more laps on the medium tires than he did on the hard tires. Make it make sense. Of course, you could say, yeah, taking advantage of the virtual safety car and all of that, but you could have just stayed out and gone longer. You know, you have the tires to go long. Because George Russell did 46 laps on his hard tires. Him and Antonelli, they did 46 laps on those hard tires. And again, we're back again with the Pirelli madness of having a tire that can do 46 freaking laps. Why is a hard tire lasting that long? There's no need for a hard tire to last that long. At most, give it 35 laps. 35 laps for a hard tire. If you go further than that, you know you're pushing it and maybe the tire might blow. Maybe Pirelli do something about it. Like, because one stop races, they remove the excitement of strategy. Because it's like, oh, at a certain point, honestly, after that virtual safety car where the Mercedes pitted both drivers, I knew at that point the race was over. Except if we had another safety car, but no safety car came in. I mean, I think we had other retirements. Alonso retired, Sainz retired, Bottas retired from the race as well. Ferrari, man, Ferrari really messed up this one for us. But it is what it is. Hopefully they learn from their mistakes. And there's another race this weekend as well. I mean, it's still race week. China this weekend, and of course there's a sprint race. Hopefully they will be able to get their act together. So, I mean, other battles along the way was Perez and Lawson. I was very surprised to see that one. Honestly, I thought talking about Lawson actually had a very, very poor start of the line. Yeah, he was, I think, get that initial launch. He didn't have any energy, I think, any battery power, and for some reason he was stuck. He couldn't even move. The car was almost anti-stalling, and everyone overtook him, so he just dropped back, and he never recovered. I think he finished the race in P14 or P13 thereabout. But Lindblad, honestly, impressive drive from Lindblad. Lindblad, I think he finished P8 in the race, points on race debut. Man, that guy is a truth. I think if Verstappen decides to retire from Formula One, I think Red Bull have a good set of drivers on hands to, like, at least keep them a bit competitive. You have Lindblad, very young. You have Hadja, very young. So yeah, it's all about who's going to be beside Lawson, because I don't see, if Lawson doesn't step up, I don't see him doing as much for the senior Red Bull team. So yeah. Also, we had other amazing battles on track. Gasly and Ocon, they were battling it out for the longest. I don't think anyone battled longer than those two throughout the entire race. Yeah. But Toledo also in the points, I think he finished P9. P9 or P10? See, I don't remember the entire lineup after Bierman. Yeah. But in P1 was, I know, Russell. P2 was Antonelli. P3 was Leclerc. P4 was Hamilton. Hamilton almost got Leclerc at the end, honestly. I think he finished 0.6 behind Charles Leclerc. I think a few more laps, Hamilton would have overtaken Leclerc. In P5 was Lando Norris. Lando had a boring race, really. He couldn't overtake anyone. He started there, he finished there. That was it. Because Piastri was meant to be ahead of him due to qualifying, but Piastri crashed before the race, so he just maintained his position, really. Gained one and finished there. Verstappen drive from 20th to P6. He was voted driver of the day, but I think you could say the sarcastic, hey, driver of the day and all of that. P7 was, I think it was Bierman. Yeah, Oliver Bierman, I think, was P7. P8 was Arvid Lindblad. I think P9 was Gabriel Bortoleto. P10 is who I can't remember right now. I think P10 will probably be between Gasly or Ocon, but I think it's Pierre Gasly. Yeah, so that's it. For all of those that tuned in for the watch along, I really appreciate you all. Thank you so much. Thank you for the support. And if you're new here, please don't forget, and you've watched this up till this time, I doubt a lot of people would do that, but if you have, please don't forget to like, subscribe, help me share with your friends. I really appreciate the support. Watch out for the preview for the Chinese Grand Prix, the first sprint race of the year. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.